It is midnight. Outside Jerusalem, among the olive trees, a man is kneeling. He is alone. Just a moment ago, he left his closest friends. He told them, "Stay awake," but they all fell asleep. Now he is on the ground, bowed down to the earth, completely by himself. And the Bible describes that moment like this: his sweat became like drops of blood, falling down to the ground. Sweat like blood. Medicine has a name for this: hematidrosis, an extremely rare condition. Under extreme stress, the capillaries around the sweat glands burst, mixing blood into the sweat. This means that before Jesus was even arrested, before he was tried, before he was crucified, his body was already shedding blood. That is how terrified he was. That is how heavy a burden he was carrying. But here is the strange thing, because what happened that night is told differently in the 4 versions of the Gospels. Some details do not match. Some scenes are only in one Gospel and missing from the others. And these differences raise very important questions. What really happened that night? That night, everything started with a dinner, the Passover, one of the most sacred nights in Jewish tradition, the commemoration of the Exodus from Egypt. Jesus gathered in a room with his 12 disciples. They ate, they drank, they talked. But 2 things happened at the table that night that history never forgot. The first, the announcement of the betrayal. Jesus paused during the meal. He looked around him and he said this: "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." A silence fell over the table. Everyone looked at each other. Who? Me? Him? In the Gospel of John, Peter whispers to the disciple whom Jesus loved, "Ask him who he is talking about." That disciple asks, and Jesus answers, "The one who dips his bread into the bowl with me." Judas reached for the bowl. So Jesus knows. He knows everything, but he did not stop it. Why? The answer to this question holds the deepest mystery of that night. The second, the bread and the wine. Jesus took bread. He broke it. "This is my body," he said. He took wine. "This is my blood," he said. This ritual is still repeated today by billions of Christians every single week. But those sitting at that table could not fully understand what it meant because they did not know yet. The dinner ended. They went outside. Outside the walls of Jerusalem, at the foot of the Mount of Olives, there is a garden called Gethsemane. Jesus went there. He told the disciples, "Wait here." He took Peter, James, and John with him. He went a little further. Then he signaled them to stop as well, and he walked alone. He fell to the ground, and he prayed. The Bible records that prayer: "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Stop. May this cup be taken from me. Jesus wanted to escape. This moment is the most human moment in the Bible. Someone who is accepted as the Son of God is kneeling on the ground saying, "If it is possible, let this not happen." He prayed 3 times. 3 times he said the same thing, and 3 times, when he returned to the disciples, he found them asleep. "Could you men not keep watch with me for a single hour?" he said. Think about this sentence. The man carrying the heaviest burden in the world was alone at the moment he needed it most. His friends were sleeping. As the prayer in Gethsemane was ending, torches appeared in the distance. Judas was walking in front. Beside him, an armed crowd, guards sent by the chief priests and the Pharisees. And Judas needed to give a signal. In the darkness, within the crowd, he had to point out the right man. The signal he chose was a kiss. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." He approached Jesus. "Greetings, Rabbi," he said. And he kissed him. Jesus looked at him, and he said this: "Friend, do what you came for." Friend. Jesus still called him a friend. Then the crowd surrounded Jesus, and at that moment, Peter drew his sword. He struck the servant of the high priest. He cut off his ear. Jesus stopped it. "Put your sword back," he said, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." Then he bent down. He touched the ear. He healed it, even while he was about to be arrested. And then, what did the disciples do? They fled. All of them. There is a very interesting detail in the Gospel of Mark, only in Mark. At that moment when the disciples fled, it mentions a naked young man running away as well. The guards try to catch him. Grabbing his linen cloth, the young man slips out of the cloth and runs away naked. Who is this man? The Bible does not say. Some scholars think this was Mark himself, that he secretly inserted himself into the text, but we do not know for sure. Jesus was arrested, and that night he went through two separate trials, one religious, one political. The first trial, the Sanhedrin, the Jewish high court, presided over by High Priest Caiaphas. It was midnight. In Jewish law, it was illegal to hold a trial at night. Death sentences had to be passed during the day. The court was not supposed to meet on a feast night, but that night, all the rules were broken. Various accusations were leveled against Jesus. Witnesses were brought in, but according to the Bible, the witnesses' testimonies contradicted each other. Finally, Caiaphas asked directly, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of God?" Jesus answered, "You have said it." Caiaphas tore his clothes. "He has blasphemed," he shouted. The decision was made, but it was not enough for the Sanhedrin to pass a death sentence. Roman approval was required. The second trial, Pontius Pilate. Morning came. Jesus was brought before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. And here, something very interesting happened. Pilate saw no guilt in Jesus. "I find no case against this man," he said. In fact, according to the Bible, Pilate's wife sent him a message. "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal in a dream today because of him." Pilate wanted to release him, but the crowd was shouting. The chief priests had stirred up the people. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" they were yelling. And Pilate backed down. He asked for a bowl of water. He washed his hands. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. Washing one's hands, that gesture became one of the most famous symbols in history for evading responsibility. Crucifixion was Roma's harshest method of punishment. It was not designed just to inflict pain. It was meant to humiliate. The condemned man would be paraded through the city for everyone to see. He was required to carry his own cross. Jesus walked toward Golgotha, a hill meaning the place of the skull. He fell on the way. He fell multiple times. The Bible mentions a man named Simon of Cyrene in this scene. The guards pulled him out of the crowd. "Carry this man's cross," they said. An ordinary man. He just happened to be there, and he carried the heaviest burden in history. The crucifixion took place at 9 in the morning, and it continued until 3 in the afternoon, exactly 6 hours. The Bible records that Jesus spoke 7 sentences during those 6 hours. These sentences are called the 7 last words from the cross. The most striking one is this: my God, why have you forsaken me?" Think about this sentence for a moment. Someone who is accepted as the Son of God feels that God himself has abandoned him at the darkest moment. This sentence has occupied theologians for centuries. Was it a real abandonment, or was it an echo of Psalm 22? Because that psalm begins with the exact same words. "And at 3 o'clock, everything was over. The earth shook." According to the Bible, the veil in the temple was torn in two. Darkness fell, and a Roman soldier looked at Jesus, his enemy, his prisoner, the man he had executed, and he said this: "Truly, this man was the Son of God." It began that night with a man shedding sweat like blood in Gethsemane, and it ended at 3 in the afternoon. What came in between? Betrayal, loneliness, an unfair trial, friends who fled, a governor washing his hands, and an ordinary man standing beneath the cross. All these scenes have been told for 2,000 years. Churches were built, music was composed, paintings were drawn. But perhaps the most important question that is never asked is this: how do the events of that night make you feel? Not as a matter of faith, just as a human being. The man left alone in Gethsemane, the friends who ran away, the voice crying out, "Why have you forsaken me?" These are not just religious texts. These are the story of humanity's deepest suffering. Write your answer in the comments. In the next video, we will cover the topic, did Jesus survive the crucifixion? What do ancient documents say? Subscribe now so you don't miss it.